very much. They've had a deluge of publicity, and the faces of the 11 members of the new independent group of MPs, 3 former Tories, 3 former Labour MPs, are now well known. But they don't have a leader. They are not a political party yet. And as to the policies they agree on, well, who knows? To pursue all of those questions, all of them now really important questions, I'm joined by Heidi Allen, a former Tory MP, and Luciana Berger, who left the Labour Party this week. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning. There is a very obvious point, which has been made by lots of members of the public, that you're both in favour of a referendum, another referendum on Brexit. But when it comes to yourselves, you won't put yourselves up for re-election, even though your circumstances have changed too. And to a lot of people, that just seems hypocritical.
Well, I've listened to the response that I've had from my constituents over the past 6 days, which has been overwhelmingly positive. I've never held back from being very clear what my positions are on a multitude of things. I stood on that platform at that last general election. Actually, I think the Labour Party has betrayed its promise to the British people to do everything possible to protect their jobs. And going forward, it's absolutely critical that at this junction where we are 33 days away from Brexit, 24 working days away from Brexit, that we should be doing everything possible to be contending with that crisis situation that our country faces at this moment in time.
You've had local members knocking on doors, putting envelopes through letterboxes and so on, week after week after week, who feel let down by you. Isn't the truth that if there was a by-election, the people of Liverpool Wavertree would choose a proper Labour MP, not you?
Again, I can only reflect on the response that I've had over this past 6 days. The multitude of calls that I've had, the emails, the response from my constituents, the response from the country. And again, I didn't hold back previously. I was one of the first people to call for a general election, and I got vilified for it at the time before Christmas. Again, we are now a few months down the line with Brexit, a cliff edge that we are facing. Well, we have a responsibility to contend with that issue. Yes.
All right, Heidi, in a sense, you're in an even worse position.
Am I? Good.
Well, because you told your constituents back in 2017, if I'm re-elected as your MP, as you were, I am not going to waste precious time resisting Brexit from happening. I think a second referendum is not what we should be aiming for. The minute we start ignoring the democratic will of the people, we are slipping towards a kind of banana republic. And now here you are doing all of those things you said you wouldn't do.
Because, as you know, even Amber Rudd in Cabinet, I think, said recently, as politicians, we have to deal with the facts that are in front of us right now. It's no good making decisions based on something that was the circumstances a year ago. We were all behind the Prime Minister, urging her to carve out a good deal that would protect our economy. Now, for a multitude of reasons, she's failed to do that. So yes, none of us have ever wanted to thwart Brexit. That the whole point of a people's vote is saying that the burden of this cannot be resolved by Parliament. Therefore, the most democratic thing to do is to put it back to the British people. None of us crave it, but it's a reality that will be the only option we have, because Parliament, at this rate, is unable to coalesce around a different way forward.
It's also what the public wants. I mean, I can only reflect on, again, the wants and wishes of my constituents. That's what we're here to do.
Thinking about constituents, are you a big fan of George Osborne?
Well, we are not going to agree on everything. We come from different political traditions. We come from different generations. So we come from different parts of the country. But what binds us together is our values and our commitment to doing something different on behalf of the constituents.
But you are now sitting alongside and bound together with Anna Soubry, who said, I personally think George did a great job. I'm a big fan of George Osborne's. The coalition government did a marvellous job. How can you sit alongside somebody who thinks that about austerity?
Well, I also listened to Anna when she was on television on Friday, talking about the challenges in her local area that have been so affected by not just what's in the pot, but how that money's been distributed. And the biggest issue, and I see it in my own area in Liverpool, while we're facing so many challenges, is because the weightings for deprivation were taken out of the funding formulas. And so in areas like Liverpool, we saw, and we've seen, a 64% cut to our local authorities' budget. So again, there's one-off decisions that take place at various moments. As I said, look, there's going to be things that we disagree on, and that's part of what we're seeking to do going forward, is that we're going to operate in an adult way which is beyond party lines, which is seeking to reach a consensus.
Members of the public do need to know what you stand for, and we'll come to that in just a second. Before we do, we were talking about welfare cuts. Heidi Allen, you said you were very upset about the way that the Conservatives have treated people at the bottom of the economic pile. But you also, in 2015, stood on a manifesto for a party which had already accomplished £18 billion of welfare cuts and was promising another £12 billion. So to your voters, at the election, you were saying yes to welfare cuts, and now you're saying they're terrible.
But and as Luciana was getting onto, I think it's not just, at a moment in time, yes, we were in a dreadful position regarding the debt and the deficit, and decisions had to be made, but it's how a government reviews its policies as it moves forward, clearly with inflation, so many other factors that now that we have a risk of Brexit no deal on the horizon, the government has to constantly review and check what its policies were. And it's the way that universal credit, from my point of view, has been rolled out. It's not just about the money in it. Universal,
the way it was done.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It could be the most phenomenal benefit system out there, but at the moment it's treating people not like human beings, just like a sausage machine.
Okay, lots of folk at home are going to be scratching their heads and thinking, okay, what does this new group actually stand for? So I'm going to do some quick-fire questions, if you don't mind. Heidi Allen,
Yes.
renationalising water and the railways, yes or no?
My gut instinct is no, but like all of these things, it needs to be built on evidence and actually, rather than just choosing ideological solutions, what will work and what can we learn from other countries.
Before you carry on, I mean, I'd just say that we are 6 days in, and
I
we've
understand
taken the step to leave our parties. We haven't even had our inaugural meeting, which we're really looking forward to,
Tomorrow?
which is tomorrow.
I will come
And
on to
actually,
that, yeah.
but for all of these policy decisions, the idea that you're asking me through the prism of kind of the old politics, and what we're seeking to do is actually do this in a very, very different way. We're going to listen to the country.
You know, I'm trying not to be silly, but I also think an awful lot of people thinking about this new group, you've been in the news all week, are wondering what kind of things you'd stand for. So in that spirit, not being kind of definitive
No,
about
sure.
it.
But I'd point
What
people to. In terms of what binds us together, which the platform that we've come together on at the moment is our values. And we've got a
but just-
website called independent.group, which
and the
people can
whole-
look
and the
at.
whole point
Is the
is
abolition of tuition fees affordable?
Forgive me,
Abolition of tuition fees, affordable or not affordable?
Well, I think we have to look at the whole. Oh, no, if you're asking on an individual, personal level, we have to look at the whole education range. And for me, the
Okay.
greatest thing we need to focus on is the early years. If we're going to give every child in this country the best start in life, it starts with the first 1,001 days, and that's not being addressed.
One final one.
This
Heidi
is like
Allen.
Mr. and Mrs.
Top rate of tax, up to 50p for the richest people in the country, yes or no?
It doesn't feel right to me, but again, let's base it on evidence. Because this is the wild and crazy idea. Rather than just because Tories always low tax, Labour always high tax, we want to change that completely. We want a bit like you do in business, coalesce around the evidence, battle a policy out and think, actually, you know what, we think this is going to work for our country right here and now and for the future. It isn't about decrying policies that any of us have had in the past. This is starting again with something completely new and a very different approach to politics.
Right,
Nothing
reaching
ever
consensus.
starts again immediately. So if there's another vote of confidence in Theresa May as Prime Minister, how would you vote?
I would do nothing at all that would precipitate a general election or give any more instability to this
So you
country.
probably back her, in fact.
If that were the alternative, yes.
Now, a lot of people would say, Luciana Berger, that what you have done makes a Tory government next time more likely. Do you accept that?
Well, I mean, there's so many different polls that have just come out over the course of this weekend that point to lots of different things, depending on who's the leader of which party. Again, that's not a reason not to do and make the decision, and the very, very difficult decision that I and my colleagues have taken this week. Ultimately, I've left my party, but I've left my party for, in my view, very, very good reason. But it's about the future. It's about trying to do something better and different. I could have carried on and done nothing at all with the status quo, put my fingers in my ears and pretended like there wasn't a problem. There is a problem, and I think my constituents in the country deserve better than that.
Can I ask you both, is this going to be a political party? We still don't really know that yet.
Yes, that's the hope, absolutely.
So it is going to be a political party that will stand up and down the country. People will be able to vote for you all over Britain.
That's the intention, but again, you're looking at this through the paradigm of the 20th century, and actually we think we've got a responsibility to reflect on the response, what people think and feel, which would be very, very positive, and also to do this in a measured way. It's not about kind of just clicking our fingers and switching on a party, which happened in the past, but we find ourselves
And the
You've
more
got this
we
2019.
rush, the more likely it is that we won't last the long haul, because we have to get the infrastructure right, our policies, our values, and build from there.
And a leader as well. You've said in the past that you think Chuka Umunna is the likeliest leader of the new party. Do you agree with that, Luciana Berger?
Wasn't it great that there's so much talent within our group that people are already talking about, what
That's
should
an
happen?
old 20th century
No,
answer.
well, not at all. I mean, and actually, if you look at our values that we've actually shared on our website, we've talked about that we all have a duty to lead, and we all have a responsibility. And part of the challenge at the moment with our politics and with Parliament is that we've got too many people. We've got colleagues saying things to us privately before this week that affirm the decision that we've made and what we're doing, and that politics is broken, but are not prepared at this moment in time to do the same. So we've made that difficult step. It hasn't been an easy one, but I feel it's the right one for the country.
You have other challenges shortly ahead. Do you rule yourself out as being leader of this new party?
We're not a party yet. We haven't even had our inaugural meeting, so that will take place tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the fact that we've got some standing orders and we're looking to establish those values and principles going forward, that's really very exciting. But we are on a journey, and we're at the start of that journey at this moment in time.
You must be aware of how much upset and anger what you've done has caused your old colleagues in the Labour Party. I just want you to look at what Emily Thornberry said about you yesterday at a meeting with Jeremy Corbyn.
And they now have the cheek to reject our new manifesto, our new activists and our new leader. And when it was our manifesto and our activists and our leader that gave them the huge majorities that they now have in their seats today. Those seats that they have betrayed by their actions.
I can't imagine why you're leaving, Luciana.
What do you make about that? I mean, part of what she says is right. You know, you did stand on a Corbyn manifesto, you did very well on that manifesto, and you were helped into power, or helped into Parliament, by people who are remaining, you know, inside the Labour Party who support Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, my values haven't changed, and in terms of the platform that I stood on when I first ran in 2010 and again in 2015, I'm the same person, and in my view it's my party that's changed, and there's already evidence of where the Labour Party has betrayed the British public in terms of the commitments it's made and what it's now saying and doing when it comes to Brexit. I think the public watching that, and many other speeches that have been made over the course of the weekend, comments made by the Shadow Foreign Secretary that we should be crushed, it is every reason why I've made the right decision. And actually that's the culture of a politics that I'm leaving behind. And again, I think that we should be operating in an open way, a tolerant way, that is what in the 21st century the country only deserves.